I want to ask you a question. What frustrates you? What frustrates you? There are things that we all get frustrated by. I mean, there are things that I think are natural frustrations of the world. And I was actually Googling some different things that frustrate people. And so, like, here are I'm going to give you some general things that frustrate just about everybody. So let me grab my iPad and let's check out some of these things that frustrate everybody. These are the top, I think it's 10 things that frustrate most people. Let's check these out. Number 1 or number 10. So I guess these are going from least to most obnoxious. Number 10, someone who relaxes too much on a plane. I think we've all had that person when you're flying somewhere and they're just a little too comfortable. Hey man, it's not your house. Let's calm it down. Let's remember we're in public. Have you ever had somebody take off their shoes beside you on a plane? I think that might be my biggest pet peeve because I've had that happen a couple of times, and it was a person whose hygiene left a little more than desired. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, like it just smelled awful when they took their shoes off. I've only ever had people that got too comfortable, who were clearly too comfortable in every way they could be in their life. And so, I hate when that happens. People get too comfortable on planes. Number 9, when someone stands behind you when they're working. Have you ever had somebody do that? Like you're sitting in your office or you're sitting at a table and they just come up behind you and they're hoverers. They hover over you while you're trying to do something. It's the worst. It's absolutely the worst. I was in a friend's office a couple years ago, and he was in like a cubicle style office, and I watched his boss walk in and do this to one of his coworkers, just kind of hovering over. And I just thought, man, I would accidentally like turn around and just start swinging. I couldn't do it. But he is a good example of this. People who hover at their job. This would be 8. When someone loudly explains everything going on in a movie. Now, I want to say this on this one. Number 1, that's awful. But number 2, there's nothing worse than going to a movie with somebody who is paying just enough attention to not know everything going on. You know, like they've got their phone out, or they're just mind wanderers. They're thinking about something else while they're watching the movie. So like every 10 minutes, they would just turn to you and go, now what just happened? You know, like what's happening? I dated a girl, it was very short-lived in high school that did that. And it drove me up the wall. I mean, it probably a reason we broke up. Now that I'm thinking about it, but it drove me absolutely nuts. And so I can't stand it. I hate both ends of that equation. So, all right, number 7, we've got when someone stands too close to you while you're waiting in line. Now, this is kind of a unique time to talk about that because we're getting rid of the 6 feet of social distancing in most places now. Like that's becoming less and less of a concern. And I got to tell you, I kind of miss 6 feet of distance. Like you get used to it after a year. There's something about like we've all had like this ginormous personal bubble. And if you think this is a comment on the pandemic, you have no clue what you're talking about. I'm just saying, I could do the rest of my life with 6 feet of social distance. I'd be okay with that. Like that is not gonna hurt my feelings. I could do without the masks, but 6 feet of social distance, I could handle. All right, what is this? 6, 5, somewhere around there. When someone interrupts you loudly by saying "what" every few seconds. This again to me is a frustration that has 2 sides to the coin. Number 1, it is super annoying when you're talking to somebody who's either not paying attention or hard of hearing. However, I have a few people in my life who will remain nameless that when they're tired, they begin to just mumble. You know what I'm talking about? Like they just like this. If you've ever seen the movie Pitch Perfect, there's a really good example of what I'm talking about. But yeah, there's just somebody mumbling the whole time. You know what I'm talking about? I'm not a fan of that. And that would cause me to say, "What?" every few seconds, just like this is saying, is frustrating. However, if they're talking in a normal volume, that's something to think about. But if you have a lot of people that say "what" all the time, maybe you have a problem. Maybe it's you. All right. So next, we've got when someone sighs, frowns, or glares at you to make sure you know they're annoyed. People that have body language that just lets you know, I think what you're saying is stupid. Yeah, those people are frustrating. All right. That's apparently my last one. So that one, I would not say that that is the top one in my mind. But I would go more with the plain guy. Anyway, there are things that naturally annoy us in life. But sometimes there are things that frustrate us, that irritate us, not because it frustrates everybody else, but because deep down there's actually something that we need to deal with and process and heal from and accept and move on from. And when we talk about this statement in Scripture, your rod and your staff comfort me, I actually think that this connects to it. So